but they tend to ignore, not knowing that some of the risks that are associated with these chemicals may end up getting hold of them in future. The other problem that we are having, and this is where we have been very strongly coming in as Kenya Chemical Society, is the public awareness. Now that we may not be having enough worker knowledge about public awareness, is sometimes we have very poor knowledge of how safely to utilize some of these some of these chemicals, and as such, they end up destroying the environment. The other problem that we have is the informal sector, what we normally call the JKUAT sector. If you go to the JKUAT sector, we have so many chemicals that are being utilized there. So many chemicals. Some of them very toxic. And the only way they are managing those chemicals is the way we saw in the first slide, whereby we know this chemical is used to clean metal surfaces, and it works magic. If you just apply the chemical there, the metal surface will boil for a few minutes, it will be clean. Not knowing, probably they are using concentrated nitric acid, concentrated sulfuric acid. We know what is happening. If you go to these places we call the light industries, there's massive use of chemicals, and those people who are there have not gone to, some of them have, they don't know chemicals by their names, they know chemicals by their use. So informal sector needs to be well regulated so that some of these problems may be problems of the past. The next slide talks about our role, as I have mentioned, the impact of Kenya Chemical Society in the line of responsible care and training and the outreach we are having in Kenya. And we have several objectives. I will not go through all of them. I want to go to the next slide where we have a picture. What we have realized in Kenya Chemical Society is that the people who are working with chemicals down there in the field are not well enlightened with regard to the use of these chemicals. One of the cases where we have identified is, if you go to agrovets, we will see haphazard arrangement of pesticides in the shelves. Some of them are very toxic, but the workers there do not have information on how to manage that. For chemicals that are bought in bulk, the picture on the right, we have vendors who will put those chemicals in very small containers, and some of them will put in even water containers like the Dasani. And those of you who are in the soap manufacture, those detergents, you know the kind of containers that you receive your reagents in. And in case a child gets in hold of such kind of a container, you think that that is water that is inside there. That's why at the beginning we had that largely some of the problems that we are having as a country is 85% of all poisonings in children happens because of poor storage or poor management of this. The next, I'm still on problems that we are having as a country. I want to show you some 3 pictures that you are conversant with of what has been happening in this country. The picture on far left top is a picture of a place in Mombasa called Owino Uhuru. And in this place, around 2007 or before 2007, there was a lead smelting facility that was started in that village, within that estate, the facility, through EPZ. And after some time, they started realizing that the smelting facility, because of the poor management, is causing some disorders. And one of the disorders is, as you can see in that boy's leg. And because of the poor institutional framework that I mentioned earlier, the government did not intervene until very lately in 2020, when there was a court ruling of compensation of these people in Uhuru. They were given around 1.5 billion Kenyan shillings. The government was to facilitate the award in that court order. But you know, whether you can guess for yourself whether the government ever paid. The actual position with regard to this case is that the facility was closed around 2015, but the people are still waiting for their compensation. And because the government may not be in a position to like you so much, they went to a court, the appeal court, for that to be changed. So this is lead poisoning in this country with all the institutional frameworks, but this facility operated for a long period of time, and about 3,000 people were poisoned with lead for an extended period of more than 10 years. The second picture on the right is the plight of the Sioke Mau people. There was a documentary of I Cannot Breathe, or We Cannot Breathe. I know some of you came across that documentary because of the facility that is down there, and we know it caused a lot of people to develop asthma and related problems. And what we are saying as a community or as a society, before we get to this level, we must have prudent sound chemical management principles. We are talking about domestication of multilateral environmental agreements, not domestication on paper, but actual domestication of some of these multilateral environmental agreements in order to prevent some of these issues. We know chemicals are causing a lot of cancers globally. So as such, as a society, one of the main aims that we have is to offer some responsible care training, right from the senior managers to students like some of you, so that we can get ourselves avoiding some of these issues. The next slide. Next slide. Next. Move. Next slide. That is already mentioned. Here you can see some of the pictures of where Kenya Chemical Society has been involved, and there's that responsibility that has been given by various chapters where people from the Kenya Chemical Society move door to door trying to train people on sound chemical management and responsible care. I want to get to the gist of, from the next slide. And look at the Kenya National Chemical Policy. And the Kenya National Chemical Policy is this document here whose role is to try now to harness all the documents that we have, all the agreements that are there currently. So it is done by the Ministry of Environment and Forestry, and it's a draft document. We have been involved in making this draft. We have attended several meetings together with Dr. Yutu, and at the moment, this document is almost getting to us for our implementation. It's in the cabinet waiting approval. Then we will have public participation. And once we do the public participation, it will be our document as a country that will be regulating the national chemical policy. And with this chemical policy, we'll be able to overcome some of the challenges that we have been having. One of the positive things that I can mention about Kenya even inching closer to realizing sustainable chemical management is last year, towards the end of last year, we had a ship that had docked from somewhere in India with a container that had been wrongly labeled as assorted hardware items destined for Zanzibar. But our people in the port of Mombasa were able to detect lethal doses of radiations emanating from that container. The ship was on transit, but our regulators were able to nab the ship, and this was a ship that was coming to dispose those dangerous chemicals within the East African region, and to be precise in Zanzibar. But obviously after interrogation, the ship was sent back to the place of origin, that was in India. So we cannot say that all is bad in our country. We are moving towards the right direction, and with this draft Kenya National Chemical Policy, we will be able even to get some of these issues getting closer home. And to introduce the draft policy, we know that the Constitution of Kenya, which we really support, entitles every citizen to clean and healthy environment, which includes the right to have the environment protected for the benefit of the present and future generation. So this national chemical policy is anchored on that in the Kenyan Constitution, and sound chemical management is also critical determinant for clean, healthy environment and key achievement of sustainable development goals, that is SDGs, the Vision 2030, and of late we have been talking about the big four for the current government. And across globe, all the governments recognize that chemicals are essential in areas of medicine, agriculture, consumer good, and the rest, as I had mentioned earlier. But at the same time, the chemicals and the pollution linked with their manufacture, the chemicals are linked to pollutions and throughout their life cycle, and it adds up to the overall costs of health globally. We also have what we call international controlled chemicals and wastes. This national draft chemical policy comes to aid this, so that all the multilateral environmental agreements and things related to what Dr. Nyawade talked about are harmonized within the same document, where we talk about strategic approach to international chemical management. And with the draft policy, we'll be able to overcome some of these problems that we have been having with regard to compliance, with regard to handling, with regard to enforcement, with regard to use of chemicals with long-lasting residual effects. All those aspects are well handled and taken care of in the draft policy. So in order for us to achieve sustainable sound chemical management, our government formed a multi-sectoral coordination committee on sound chemical management. And here in this university, we are very lucky to have one of those people, Dr. Gitu. If you check through the JKUAT website, some of the trading news that were there a while ago is when Dr. Gitu was appointed into this committee, and the role of this committee, which is domiciled in the Ministry of Environment and Forestry, is to support institutional strengthening in the at the national level by harnessing the implementation of multilateral environmental agreements and also enhancing the strategic approach to international chemical management, what I have mentioned earlier. And the project is supported by UNEP Special Programs on Environment. And the official launch was done last year on 15 February at Sarova Pan-Afric Hotel, and much more has been done since then. I mentioned a few key functions of this committee. One of the key functions is to review the national policy on sound chemical management and to promote collaboration and partnership among key stakeholders, whereas you are part of the stakeholders in this sound chemical management, because as we release you to go out there in the market, majority of you'll be handling chemicals, and it's good also when this document is out, you'll be conversant with it, because even some of the questions that you'll be answering in interviews, panels, will be related to sound chemical management and the current status that we have as a country. The other role is to review and endorse the strategic approach in international chemical management, international plan, and promote awareness and advocacy on sound chemical management, coordinate data collection, analysis, and information management, support decision-making among chemical management stakeholders, and develop joint multi-sectoral projects in the implementation of management of chemicals. So that is the multi-sectoral committee, and as I have mentioned, Jomo Kenyatta University is represented in the multi-sectoral committee on sound chemical management by one of our own. The membership of the committee, in brief, we have the key government agencies such as KEBS, Pesticide Control Board, NEMA, Ministry of Health, Ministry of Environment and Forestry. We have specialized sectors such as Kenya Chemical Society, Water Regulatory Authority, Pesticide Board, Agricultural Association of Kenya. We have the people who use the chemicals, the enablers, and the specialized sectoral agencies such as the Kenya Ports Authority. As I have mentioned, one of the key interventions that Kenya Ports Authority had is in trying to prevent discharge of radiation chemicals, and it was actually uranium within the East African region. We have Kenya Medical Research Institute, KIRDI, Federation of Kenyan Employers, and KEFIS. We also have members from the university, as I have clearly highlighted. I want to quickly look at the basic elements of sound chemical management, and these elements are critical at the national and regional levels, and these are to be attained in order to have effective sound chemical management. And in order for us to have this kind of a flowing system, we must set legal frameworks that addresses the life cycle of chemicals and wastes. Sometimes when we buy chemicals, some of us are not interested in the next destination that the chemicals will end up in. Management of waste is very critical. I want to give an example of one information that I got for one of the factories that is operating within our region. may buy chemicals in bulk, utilize the chemicals, but once the chemicals are utilized, those chemicals will end up requiring to be discharged in some way. He had to devise ways of cheating the system. I know Kenyans, we are good in cheating the system. Cheating the system. He decided, instead of doing a borehole for water, let me draw water from a river that is 3 kilometers away. And every one of us was wondering, why can't he draw water from do a borehole instead of getting water from a river that is 2 kilometers away? But he just wanted to lay 2 pipes. One pipe for drawing the water, and the other pipe for discharging the waste. So when seeking NEMA approval, he sought NEMA approval to extract water from the river, not to discharge waste into the... Are we together? Those are the kind of companies that you'll be heading, whereby the managing director, who is not a chemist, or the owner who is not a chemist, decide to discharge the chemical waste into the river. That's why I'm saying we need some legal frameworks. People, institutions, which will be able to monitor. Because if government institution is able to monitor the river before the factory and after the factory extraction point, they can be able to sense, to see enhanced concentration of the discharges from this. So we need proper legal frameworks, relevant enforcement and compliance mechanisms. The pictures that I showed you earlier of Syokimau and Mombasa, Uhuru villages, we cannot have that kind of a situation if we had relevant enforcement and compliance mechanisms. Then we talk about the implementations of chemicals and waste-related multilateral environmental agreements, as we have mentioned. Then having strong institutional frameworks and coordinational mechanism among stakeholders. This is where you bring all the stakeholders together, not the way, maybe, and don't misquote me, not the way we are managing the border sector. Starting to manage from the other way around, where you bring the stakeholders together and ensure that there is proper management at all levels. Then we have ensuring that collections and the system for transparent sharing of relevant data, information amongst relevant stakeholders using life cycle approach, such as implementation of GHS, of classification and labeling of chemicals. We need to think about the industry participation when we are talking about this committee is looking into that, and inclusion of sound chemical management in the national health, labor, social, environment, economic budgeting processes, and in development plans, whereby in the process of our developments, we are not having a system that we have not planned our country in a way that this is industrial estate, this is residential estate. The problem that we are having, let's say in a place like Syokimau right now, is that the residential households are sandwiched between industries, and as such, management of the effluent sometimes become a problem. Then the other elements that the multi-sectoral committees looks at are the chemical risks assessment and risk reduction through the use of best practices. So as a country, are we utilizing the best practices whereby we try to reduce the use of chemicals as much as possible? Then we have strengthening the capacity to deal with chemical accidents including institutional strengthening of poison centers. Some chemical accidents are avoidable, and catastrophes associated with chemical accidents are avoidable. For example, we have been having several incidences of trucks carrying hazardous chemicals in the same traffic with our personal cars. Is that the case? Of late, I think there was one around my Mahio not long ago where there was a chemical accident in Naivasha, a place called, I think, Karagita. There was another major accident. And you know, vehicles carrying hazardous chemicals should be escorted and have a minimum distance between that vehicle and the subsequent vehicles. We know that already. But are we able to enforce that? You get a vehicle carrying 10 tons of LPG struggling in traffic with the small cars. In case of explosion, we'll have massive catastrophes. Then the other element that this committee deals with is monitoring and assessing the impact of chemicals on health and environment, and finally, development and promotion of environmentally sound and safer alternatives. As a country, there are alternatives that we can have for some pesticides. As a country, there are alternatives we can have for some drugs. Earlier, I mentioned about the misuse of chemicals. One case of misuse of very basic chemical, some people who are suffering from HIV and AIDS, they are normally given antiretroviral drugs. But people have devised other ways of using those chemicals. They are feeding them to chickens and pigs. Because once you give the antiretroviral drugs to pigs and chicken, they fatten faster. And it has been happening in this country. So we need to educate our members of the society about proper use of chemicals. Next. I'm still talking about the multi-sectoral committee on sound chemical management. So the overall vision for this committee, and you need to pay keen attention to all this, is to promote sustainable management of chemicals at all stages of their life cycle, including products, taking into account the national sectoral strategies and policies and laws, and having some international instruments and processes that are already developed and flexible enough to deal with new chemicals, and taking into account the dual use of chemicals. And for this case, we are not saying dual use of chemicals is like what I have mentioned there, that is an antiretroviral drug and it's a fattening drug. Then the other vision is to look at the transboundary movement and disposal of hazardous waste. And here I can cite another example of what happened a few years ago. There were some pesticides that were banned in this country, especially in the coffee sector, but years down the line, we still receive those chemicals because of poor transboundary movement of these chemicals, and they pose a lot of damage in the environment. The action areas for the committee is risk reduction. We know sometimes it may not be possible to completely eliminate the chemical, but you can minimize the risk that is being posed by the chemicals. Provide information. Provide some governance structures that are able to describe how those chemicals are to be used, institutional strengthening and intersectoral coordination, partnership and stakeholders involvement, and this has been lacking in many cases. We are talking about this committee dealing with capacity building as we are doing today when international traffic of chemicals, have education systems that are able to respond to emergency preparedness and response. One way is to educate the community, whereby if a truck has an accident, you should take the opposite direction, not go towards the truck with a jerry can. That is information. The other day, there was this other truck that had an accident in Githurai. It was carrying rice, as I hear. I know you saw it. And instead of addressing it based on the emergency preparedness and response, people responded by helping to make the truck lighter for the breakdown to be able to easily lift it. So you could see very able men and women with their cars loading rice to the back or the boots of their cars. That means those people are not hungry. Those people are, they are just criminals. They are just thieves. I hope none of you was involved. Then we are talking about looking at chemicals of security concern. Right now we know what is happening in Russia and Ukraine, and we may have the use of chemical weapons. And luckily enough, our department is also lucky. The same person who is representing us in the multisectoral committee has been trained in handling the chemical weapons in Hague. I remember. So the same committee will handle the chemical weapons, and once that is achieved, as a country will be able to move a notch higher. But for us as students and for us as members who are more conversant with the chemicals that we are using, we need to be in the front line advocating for safe use of chemicals. Where we can have alternatives, we use those alternatives, not only for our own sake, but also for the sake of the future generations. I want to stop there and invite the other presenter so that we can conclude. And if there's any question, we'll do it at the end of these sessions. I want to also acknowledge our university and the Royal Society of Chemistry and the Kenya Chemical Society for allowing us to make this presentation. And we also welcome your comments at the end and tell us how well we can improve this course. Thank you.
So the last presentation is on what we call as responsible care. Responsible care. A lot has been talked, and now we go to the industry. I hope you are still concentrating. Are you? Maybe you can stand up and stretch a bit. Just stand up and form figure 8. You stand up and form figure 8. Okay. Yeah, I think that is all. You can now sit down. So mine will not be long, but I have 3 presentations. Okay? But what I'll do, I have given the 3 presentations, but I only present 1. Yes. That is on responsible care. So the one who is giving us a guide there can just go to responsible care. Now, through all that we have been told, one of the main problems that we have is lack of responsible care through the entire chemicals life cycle. My presentation is written Responsible Care Expansion in Africa. And maybe if I just stay there, from one of the presenters, we discovered that Kenya is in the rest of the world. And actually that is still remains because responsible care has been adopted by many other countries. But in Africa, there has been slow uptake of responsible care. So the origin of responsible care was some time back when most of us were not born. That is in 1984, when there was an accident in a factory in India. It's known as Bhopal accident. And it was involving a compound known as methyl isocyanate, which leaked. And there was a lot of damage, as you can see. And the site has not been cleaned up due to the risk associated up to now. And therefore, the Canadian Chemical Producers Association in the year that followed were concerned and introduced a chemical industry own unique voluntary program. The term voluntary is very key in responsible care. And it's responsible care in chemicals management so that it can help raise standards in safety, health, environment, security, and sustainability. And to gain trust from the public and other stakeholders. So the chemical industry the responsible care committed to protect people and environment, and also to promote safe, secure handling and stewardship of chemicals along the supply chain. In fact, this training is supposed to be also done to police officers, the transport, the people who are in the transport industry, as it has well been explained by the earlier presenter, and also those who are handling chemicals in one way or another. So what are the benefits of responsible care? It ensures operational efficiency and overall economic performance for a given industry, and helps to reduce emissions. We were shown, by the first presenter, about some emissions. If there is no responsible care from the industry, emissions will just go anywhere, anyhow. Also ensure safety of employees and communities, and also ensure is essential to ensure that customers and also consumers handle our products safely. Because in every product, there is what we call the safety data sheet, which we usually don't read, even those who are learned. So it is a serious thing. It also strengthened credibility, reliability, protection, and government recognition. And I repeat again, the responsible care is a voluntary program. The government is not actually involved directly. It also responds to stakeholder expectations, also protects license to operate and allow industry to continue to provide products to address society challenges, and also enables chemical industry to achieve sustainable development goals and supporting national implementation. So the responsible care program, as I have said, is not a government program. It's actually a chemical industry program. And companies and their representatives, federations, voluntarily adopt the program. Now in Kenya, if I may go to that, we are currently in that process, and the association that is involved in adopting the responsible care is the one we call Kenya Association of Manufacturers. That is the one that is driving. And then some of us are a part of the steering committee that is involved to ensure that Kenya adopts the responsible care. And a few companies are part of it, like Osho Chemicals. That is where we met with Mr. was called who? Amar. And Mr. Amar. We met during that meeting. Also, we have Galaxy Paints, and we also have multinationals which are also assisting us in that, like Dow Chemicals, and another one called BASF are also involved. But at the back of that, the Ministry of Environment and Forestry is actually facilitating in adoption of responsible care in Kenya. Now we have talked about strategic approach to international chemicals management. I wanted to just mention a little bit about that. One of my presentation is just on that. And looking at what the first presenter talked about, the mayors, we call them the mayors when we go for industry or out there. You talk about mayors, multilateral environmental agreements. Unaonekana unajua ukisema mayors. And by okay, when you say that, you look like a great person. So the UNEP had to come up with a strategy because we are talking about the mayors. But how do you now manage the chemicals? There is a strategy of doing it, okay? And the presenter, Dr. Goba, had gone through the elements that are in that strategic approach to international chemicals management. And then in Kenya, we have what is known as National Implementation Plan. You know, we are talking big things here, which is very good. When you go to these big meetings, that is what they talk about. National Implementation Plan. In other words, NIP. You see, SAICAM, you see, it's at the international. National Implementation Plan for Kenya. And after that, that is where we have the chemicals policy. And now, already you people, you have an idea about the chemicals policy because he has really explained about it. So all that is on how that international chemical SAICAM was started. Now, internationally, we have on the global level, we have an association known as the International Council of Chemical Associations. That is the one that actually initiated responsible care. And in most countries, as I had said earlier on, those countries have already adopted responsible care. So that when chemicals are manufactured, the manufacturer is responsible up to the end user. The manufacturer, are you seeing? The one who is manufacturing in Europe is careful up to the end user. That is what we call responsible care. So that even when you are buying a chemical, you don't just handle it like that. You are well informed about it. But the way we do it here, all the way from in all sectors, whether they are in the JKUAT industry or in the agricultural industries, sometimes we don't care how we handle it. But now we want to introduce that responsible care, and there should be a mark of responsible care in that. So, already I have said that we are already in touch with this organization, and Kenya Association of Manufacturers is the host. And at this juncture, let me say that responsible care Kenya Charter will be launched on March 28th, the year 2022. So it's coming very soon. So all that I have talked about, and this is the watermark. What do we call that? The trademark for the global one. All that. There are some principles. I don't have to talk about them. There are also some 4 pillars of what we call global product strategy. I don't have to talk about that. All that I have talked about, so that we don't stay. Now, why Africa? Why Africa? So, as I have said, SECAM has emphasized enhanced capacity for chemicals management in Africa since inception in 2006. And here in JKUAT, I don't know whether this one has come until now. By the way, this training is supposed to go to all the various schools or colleges that handle chemicals. But we found it important, first of all, to start with the chemists, because the matters of chemicals start with the chemists. And then later on it will be taken to others. So, and it was citing legacy chemicals, dumping, post-consumer product disposal as important chemicals management issues. And many African countries lack basic chemicals management regulatory. Our laws, there are several laws in Kenya, but they are usually fragmented. But the sectoral committee, we have brought all the stakeholders in those industries, so that every act that is involved, that can be streamlined, especially through NEMA. And largely dispersed and organized chemical industry. In Africa, we have a largely dispersed and unorganized chemical industry and lack of natural host organizations. But now we are getting there. So responsible care growth, now it has not stalled. It has started going on. So that stalled, I can remove that. But there are some 3 countries which have already adopted responsible care. Actually, now we can say 4. Morocco is one of them, Egypt, South Africa, and now Kenya. Kenya is coming in. Because even this training is part of adopting or that what we are saying. And I don't need to go through the elements. I have already said that Kenya is a target for that, and we are doing well. And also Ghana is coming very soon. Kenya Association Manufacturers, I have already said that they are the hosts for this program. And because I want us to finish, and now we have finished. This is the this is the steering committee behind that. These are the people we work with. And I think you can see I am somewhere. Niko hapo. Mnaniona hapo, eh? Mnaniona hapo? Ni yule hataki muone. Niko hapo. Anyway, with those few remarks, I have other presentations, but they can be posted to those who are interested at the responsible care, and also another training. There is a training we are developing together with Dr. Goba for top managers in industries. In fact, you are now at a higher level than top managers in chemical industries in terms of responsible care. And with those few remarks, I would beg to stop there. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I hope we are getting something out of this. And we were saying here with Dr. Nyawande, one of the things that we need to do is to ensure that we have sufficient time so that we can tackle every aspect to the best and not have Dr. Geto telling us to look at him where he cannot be found. I could only see responsible care and group chata. I didn't see him, and I hope next time we also be able to have all the presentations done. But of course, we will share all the presentations. You already have them. Your team, the IT team, we will distribute the presentations to you because they are part of the package of this training. So when you go out there, it's good to say you know something about chemical policy, MEAS, not multilateral environmental agreements. If you say them that way, you'll be an amateur. You'll be talking about the MEAS and all that. So at the end of the day, once you are there, you'll be able to be a good ambassador for us. We wanted to finish by 12:15 so that some of us can attend to lectures, but now it has extended. It's time for question and answer. Are there any questions that you may be having? Umejisikia hivi, unaona uko na kaswali unataka kuuliza. That is largely related to what we have been talking today. I want to give you that opportunity so that you can ask questions to any of us, including Eric. And as you think about the kind of question that you can ask, I want Eric to come here and say hi to you and tell you who he is in the chemical world, because you might end up interacting in future. Think about that question. We'll be dealing with those questions in the next 2 or 3 minutes. Eric, come and greet. In the morning, I had the congregation. The chairman of the society was telling us to greet the congregation. So come greet the congregation. Come greet the participants in this workshop.
Okay, I'll comply. I hope they have now all seen me. Umeniona nyinyi wote? So I can put back my... Yes, thank you so much, Daktari. The chair, Kenya Chemical Society. We have our able chairman here for the department, the presenters who have spoken. My name is Eric Awaz. Currently, I work as administrator PACN Kenya. That is Pan-Africa Chemist Network. So PACN is a project, let me say, a network of the Royal Society of Chemistry, which was started way back in 2007. And the major objective behind it was to establish a sustainable science base across Africa. So we have our hubs based in Ethiopia, Nigeria, Ghana. I saw Ghana was coming up in something. Yes. But in Kenya, we are hosted at the University of Nairobi, Department of Chemistry. That's where our office is. So basically, we do a lot of activities across the continent. Starting from this, we have what we call a seminar series, moving from one institution to the other. The other day we were at multimedia. Today we are here. So when Dr. approached us about this, we were really happy. And the RSC takes it so serious that when we come together like this, there are so many things we can talk about to help us. Or the way we live, like today we are handling about the issues of chemicals. So we also do a lot of conferences on a certain topic, but for the last 2 years we have not had any conference because of the COVID situation. But next year, actually not next year, this year, December, Chairman, we'll have a very big conference. Yes. It is coming up in Morocco. I hope I'll share more information. I hope, Doctor, have you seen it in our groups? The Atlantic Basin Chemistry something? Yeah, I'll give you the information so that you can widely share about it. Apart from conferences and congresses, we do also training workshops. For example, we have been at JKUAT for so long, from 2009. Yeah, sometimes you pass by the IIT building, you see banners there, Pan-Africa Chemistry Network, a training there about GCMS or LCMS. So we have been conducting that across. And the major aim is to train our people, lecturers, lab technicians, students, majorly postgraduate students. By the way, I'm a final year PhD. By the end of this year, I'll be through. So we do also training in those particular instrumentation techniques, that is LCMS and GCMS. And this year, we'll also have 4 of them. So for all the postgraduate students who are aspiring to join the training of the lecturers, when we are now working at the website for application, once it is up, I'll be able to circulate and the chairman will be able to roll out the program and we see how we are going to have the 4 trainings across this year. So RSC has got what we call membership. It is possible for you as a student to become a member of the Royal Society of Chemistry, but you cannot become a member of PSCN because PSCN is a tool of the RSC to reach African chemists. So we have several categories of membership. You can become a student member. You can become an affiliate member if at all you are not, you don't have any chemical background, but you are interested in what RSC is doing. You are allowed to become as an affiliate member. You can become an associate member. So that one means you must have graduated and yes, and you have 2 years experience from your first level of the degree you acquired. You become an associate member. You can also become a member, now a full member, but that is now 5 years experience and above from your first graduation. And you can also become a fellow. I hope you are a member of, yes, Dr. Iya is a member. So there are a range of benefits of becoming an RSC member. Number one, you'll be able to network. Like what Dr. was saying, when you go to those big meetings, you start talking big terms. Yes, you'll be able to network, meet the right people at the right time. You collaborate with the people who can host you in their various labs, the universities where they are. You go there, do research, you come back. You'll be able to get funding. There is what we call mobility grants. So when you are an RC member, and you are doing PhD, there is that kind of support which is available. So what you need to do, just need to get a host in UK, and then they will be able to support you with £5,000. So that can be one-off visit, or you do multiple visits until you are through with your studies. Apart from which, you will also be you will be able to access conference support grants. For example, like now the upcoming conference in Morocco, if Dr. wants to go and the finance part is limited, but he wants to go and participate, this allowance there is given. We have domestic support, we have continental and intercontinental. So you can easily go, you apply, you are given, you go present a paper or something, then you come back. Are we together? Yes. During this COVID time, people have had so many challenges, let me say, in terms of finance. So the REC has got a package which they help their members, those who are affected by, I know most of us, we are affected with this condition and still being affected. So the members of the REC, there is what we call Community Support Fund or Benevolence Fund. If you are bereaved, or maybe in the course of the COVID, you are earning a salary and at each point the salary was cut, then you approach the REC, they will take care of you. So for more about the REC, if I don't consume, I can talk the whole day. I think we can share the website so that at their own time, they can look at what is available there, and then they can ask me any relevant questions they have. We have so many members in JKUAT. Yes. Thank you.
Let's appreciate Eric because of the preamble about the Pan-African Chemistry Network and Royal Society of Chemistry. You can see opportunities are there. It's you to start looking for those opportunities. Are we together? Opportunities are there. You start looking for those opportunities. And that's why he is here. He even bought you some snacks to come listen to what he has said. And in the process, we stole the show. Ndio sababu amekuja mwisho. And we have been working with him for so many years. And we have had a very successful track record of working together with RSC and PSCN. Questions? There's a mic here. If you have a question, raise up your hand. Kuna mmoja hapa ya secretary wa society. Are you the secretary? Yes, secretary akona swali. Brief questions. And say who you are directing the question to if you want that to happen. Anybody else? Because I want to pick those questions. We answer them once and for all instead of having one question. Then, yes, another question will be here. Ikitoka hapo, inakuja hapa. Any other question? Third one? Final one? Anybody else? Those three? Okay, let's ask and we'll respond to them.
Good afternoon. I'm Linda Karaoke, the current interim organizing secretary, the Society of Chemists. I'm going to direct my question to Eric. And I have this concern, and my question is on PACN. He has said that PACN is do you call it a sub branch or maybe a part in the Royal Society of Chemists that actually helps to reach out to the African. These things. I think that he is a member. Actually, can confirm it. He's a member, and also our lecturers, and the opportunity actually lies in, as in the opportunity is given us, and it's up to us to actually get to grab the opportunity. Now, my question is like, where do we start so that we can be actually part of the PSCM? Like, where do we start? Where do we start getting our obtaining our membership from? Is there a fee? How much is it? Can it be subsidized to fit our pocket? And if it can, then can you allow us as a society to actually participate in maybe in some of the events and maybe learn a lot, learn something from you, because these small contributions that we might have, they will go a long way in helping us in maybe, I'm very sure they will help us in not only growing as career-wise, but they will help us in turning our leadership skills. They also help us even in life after school and when we start working. And something else I would actually ask, because you actually managed to fund, I don't know what you actually offer to the people, but what we would actually ask for, do you give room for innovation for the students, like the chemists, to showcase their things, and because definitely we learn something from the training that we get from you. So is there any room for showcasing the different innovations that students have actually come up with after attending the seminar? Thank you.
That is directed to? Yes, thank you. The next question, we'll answer them at the end. Eric may answer all those questions. Being a sponsor, he may answer all the questions, but of course, I know he's going to give us books out of that.
So, good afternoon. My question is directed to Mr. Elijah. Is it possible to say that the pharmacies are the major reason of why the chemicals are not being managed properly? Because from the presentation, we have seen that most of the pharmacies are the ones, or their province, because they usually get their license from the Kenya Pharmacy and Control License Board. They should be the ones who are advocating first for sound chemical management, because if they're the ones who are arranging the products in a bad way, or also selling the antiretroviral drugs to the people who end up using them for bad, they misuse these drugs. So is it possible to say that they're the ones who are contributing majorly? Because if they're the ones who are selling these things over the counter, and they're not advising people properly on how to use them. So is it possible to say that they're the ones who are neglecting their major role? Because if they're the ones who are teaching people about the sound chemical management, most of the issues which were presented here earlier, they have been tackled earlier.
Thank you. Next, behind you. Kitu ikishikwa haifanyi. Okay, tunafanya sasa.
My name is Kamau. I'm
directing them to Dr. Gumba. So in the spirit of not in my backyard, if I happen to come across someone probably polluting our environment with chemicals, which action should I take? And my second question is, as students and as chemists, probably some of us have some projects in the lane of chemistry. Asking if there is a platform where someone can showcase just to make sure it is implemented. Thank you.
I'm James. My question is directed to Dr. Gitu. For the cases that has arisen on the transportation of dangerous goods, like happened to Maimahio Road, Mutarakwa. So what is the measures that have been taken for transportation of chemical goods which are hazardous? Because they have to be transported. Then there was a case at Sinai. And another one that happened in Nakuru. So what are the measures that should be taken to rectify on the case?
Okay, thank you sir for the opportunity. I'm Ray. So my question is in the direction of law enforcement. Is it possible for a chemist to, like to move into the law sector? Yeah, like being a lawyer or something of that kind in your field from chemistry, because if you have to enforce a law, you can't enforce a law that you don't understand. So you have to know much about chemicals if you have to enforce law in that direction. So, like, can a chemist become that? Like, that's my question. Thank you.
She asked so many questions that time. I don't know which one to start with. Okay, PACN, let me say, is a project of the Royal Society of Chemistry on reaching the African chemists. Is that answered? Yes. Where you can start from is to become a member for you to access these opportunities which are available. And the membership fee for students is only 1,300. It is already subsidized because when you go to the website, which I will share the link, you're supposed to pay 2,600. But for all students in Africa, they only pay 1,300 Kenya shillings. That is how many dollars? Are they? Around $11. Yes. So once you become a member, you start engaging now with the Royal Society of Chemistry. I said you cannot become a member of PACM. It's like this is which school? Is it a college or? No, where are you? The group, yes, School of Physical and Mathematical Sciences. The school, under which college? Yes, so that's also how we are. So once you are a member of the mathematical department, you are a JKUAT student, right? Yes. But for you to get updates on what you are doing, I can have your email to feed in our system so that you get frequent updates from the RAC. So in that way, you join the PACN mailing address for all the activities which are taking place across Africa, including Kenya, and you can easily participate. You have been working. There used to be, I don't know, Dr. whether he graduated and the whole thing collapsed. We used to have a JKUAT, ChemSoc organization. Yes. Yeah, and there are those students, the leaders you're working with. They even used to come for the PACN local management committee so that they can discuss ways through which PACN can help them. I don't know what happened along the way. So for more information, please, you can see me outside after the session, right? Yes, and also that booklet, you can know more about what we are doing. Anybody with a question, please, after we end, you are 100% allowed to see me.
So in the interest of time, I want to limit every participant. PACN, I would encourage the secretary, have all the emails for the members who are interested in joining the mailing list. You hand it over to Eric, and you'll be receiving all the communications from PACN. Then any other correspondence, you can have it after that, including how you can organize the mass registration or joining of anybody who is interested. Eric can always come here. You all fill the forms. Unaweka pesa kwa account venye anataka, alafu anatuma makaratasi na unakuwa member automatically. It's as easy as that. I want to ask Dr. Gitu to, in 2 minutes, answer the questions that have been posed to him, especially the question on the transport, the lawyer. All those are your questions. Can you briefly do so in 2 minutes?
Yes. The issue of transportation and the accidents. Currently, there is a certain organization where Kenya Chemical Society is also involved in training fast responders when there is an accident. Already we have that type of people who are being trained so that if there is such an accident, we have fast responders. I think that is all that I can say. It has not gone so far in terms of their implementation, but they are already being trained. And we work together with the National Disaster Management, which is a police unit, for disasters. And of course, chemical spillage and accidents are a part of that. And that is why we are also encouraging you also to join Kenya Chemical Society, so that when we have also the trainings, you can also be part of us. I don't know whether that is sufficient, but I think I have said that is half a minute. The other one is on lawyers and chemistry. Lawyers and chemistry, like the chemical policy. When we were doing the final draft, the chemists, the lawyers, and panobit the rule because they don't understand chemistry, and chemists don't understand how law goes by. But one can still become a lawyer when you are a chemist. Okay, you can still become a lawyer because we have environmental law and other issues. So there's nothing that can stop you. Like there's a class I've been teaching about narcotic drugs, and I was asking them, I gave them the act that deals with narcotic drugs. When you look at it, there is so much chemistry. And it was written in 1994. Then you wonder, who wrote this? Is it a chemist or is it a lawyer? But of course, it was teamwork. Thank you.
Should always learn to appreciate some of those. The other question, Dr. Nyawade, any question you want to respond to? Yes.
Thank you. Maybe I can just comment or respond to the question on not in my backyard. If you realize that somebody is trying to dispose toxic substances in your community or in the wrong place, I think the first thing to do is to report to, there's an authority that deals with that, NEMA. So I think if you have concrete evidence that this stuff is toxic, I think you can write to NEMA to follow up. That is one. And the other one, I would say that you can take action. Use the media. Temporarily become an activist for that, to make sure that that problem is solved. Because sometimes you can report and nothing is done. So you can act as an activist. Thank you.
I want to respond to, let's appreciate her. The question by him about the agrovets and pharmacies, those were just used as an example, and they are very close to us. We know some of the pharmacies get closed because the people operating those pharmacies are not qualified pharmacists. So they don't know what entails on sale and management of pharmaceuticals. A case example, you can walk into any pharmacy and buy an antibiotic. Is it true? But you know it's against the law. If there is no prescription, you're not supposed to be given that antibiotic. The antibiotics are only supposed to be prescription medicines. So at the end of the day, we are the ones who break these laws. When you're getting the licenses for the agrovets and pharmacies, they sign consent to adhere to all the regulations, but of course, the Kenyan mindset of carefree mindset, sometimes we get ourselves exposed. We have industries that are discharging waste in haphazard manner. They are the major polluters. Municipalities, households, go to any of the estates, you get a lot of litter everywhere, including chemical litter. Ask yourselves, once the dry cells that you are at home do not have any charge, where do you take them? You just drop them in the dustbin. You forget about them. But there's a way that you're supposed to handle some of those things that you're using at home. So it's around a matter of the mindset that we are having, and we need more public participation and education so that we can protect the environment. Dr. Nyawade has mentioned that we have regulations or regulators that can prevent us from contaminating the environment. We have NEMA. We can use the county government. They are fast responders. If somebody is polluting, use the county government. Wanakuja hapo biu. Then you can use what we call the community policing, where you gang up as a community and attack, not physically, prevent some developers from developing certain infrastructures within your community that you know will lead to pollution. Concerning some projects, some people may be having projects that relate to management of environment. JKUAT is always open to such kind of innovations. We even hold an innovation week in this university every year. So if you have that kind of an innovation that you want to showcase, Every year we have one such. It's called the Innovation Week. I can't remember the full names, but come to the department, we will guide you on what to do. You can also use some of those projects. If your 4th years is your 4th year project, you write a patent, you can even patent your work. And we have a department in this university that deals with intellectual property rights. So just approach us, we will guide you. Are we together? If you have those ideas, approach us, we will guide you as much as possible. I think I don't have any other question. I want to welcome the chairman, and so that he can make the closing remarks on behalf of the principal. Then we call it a day. Kwani amunipigi makofi?
Thank you, Tangumba. We have now come to the end of the program, and mine is to say thank you to the presenters. I will also want to thank Eric, the SCN, for the treat that he has given us. Okay. Can you give him a clap? Okay. This is a very important event. You should now go well informed about chemical waste disposal, handling of chemicals. Okay, mayors, so that when you go out there, you are well equipped. This is one of the events of this year. We will have other events, like the next one will be a career talk. So we are trying to look for people to come and give talks, especially the 4th years who are just about to enter the market. That one we'll try to organize so that you get enraged. Otherwise, mine is just to say thank you to members. Thank you also to you who have been with us for this half a day. Okay. So we have basically come to the end. According to the program, there was supposed to be a vote of thanks by the SOC organizing secretary. Is he there? Oh. We will want to give you, we are already hungry, yeah? So take a very short time. Okay.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon once more. I'm Linda Karaoke, the current organizing secretary, the Society of Chemists. I'm in 4.1 taking basic analytical chemistry, and I'm really humbled to be here today, and I thank each and every one of us who has actually attended. I'm going to start by thanking our chairman, our very able chairman, Dr. Kipto, and the principal in absentia. I'm going also to thank Dr. Gitu first, because at the beginning of this semester, they actually made this event possible. That shows how much they care for us as students, and it took so much effort and so much humility for them to do such a thing. We really need to appreciate them for that. I'm going to also thank the KCS, that is the Sound Chemical Management Team, Dr. Gumba, Dr. Nyawade, and Dr. Gitu once again. I'm really humble because last year when we had the launch, I actually just made a very simple statement and most people laughed, and I said that I'm going to follow up on you so that you ensure that we are going to have this thing happen, like carry on each and every time, because we need it. And I'm very humbled and I'm very thankful because you actually agreed to my request. May God bless you for me. So I'm also going to thank the social media and customer relations in JKUAT. I'm really humbled because you've been gracing our events one after the other. You've never gotten tired of listening to us. May God bless you for me. Something else, I'm going to thank the JKUAT STA team. They really helped us with the public address instruments. We were missing them, but they really helped us too. We are thankful for that. Someone else whom I will thank, and I will actually, I think my own way of making requests is a bit demanding, but Mr. Eric, but Dr. Eric to be, please bear with me. I really like seeing my people get help, and you can be sure I'll get back to you. And I really want to thank you for this opportunity. And I believe that next year, maybe I will not be in a position to attend this event, but I pray and ask you, if it's possible, please ensure that the next time we are having this event, please just make it possible for us. We are going to play our part. And please ensure that that team that you used to work with and you thought that they had collapsed, we are going to revive the team for you, and we are going to ensure that the PSCN, and we don't need to be telling people, like having success stories in theory that, you know, you can be successful with this course, you can travel the world. We want that to be practical because people are fed up with empty talks, and I don't believe in that myself. So I'm going to ask you kindly, please just bear with us, because I will make my request, and my requests, I think they are a bit demanding, but just bear with me. And something else, I'm going to end the vote of thanks, with quote from Malala Yousafzai. I hope I'm saying it correctly. This guy said that, let us remember that one book, one pen, one child, and one teacher can change the world. We are more than one. We have more than one book. We have more than one teacher around us. We have each and everything. We have it multiple times. So we have the capacity to change the world and make it a better place to be. So let's go into that. Thank you. Oh, we also have mental health awareness event at the Assembly Hall. I'm informed that it's still going on. So if you have time, kindly just go and check it out. Thank you.
So that's about all. We are now ready to call it a day. Okay. We still have classes. Okay. So you are free to go. The certificate. Sorry. The chairman, Kenya Chemical Society.
Don't go without your certificate. Now, what we usually do, we ensure that you have registered your names, because we usually send e-certificates, okay? That is what we usually send through the chairman of SOC, once all the names, for only those who have trained. So not anybody who is not here, only those who have trained. So that one we do it in as we contact our national office secretariat, who will do the work for all of you. Otherwise, I think that is all. Thank you. And
okay. Our facilitators for the day and our trainee, good afternoon. Before I pray, this is a chance, let me say one word or two. We're privileged to have this training for the second time. After we launched it, and we were the first trainee in Kenya, courtesy of KCS, and in collaboration with the chemistry department and Society of Chemists. And clap for that. Good. Kule kwingine wanasema aje, if you want to eat with the kings, wash your hands well. So we're trying to wash our hands. These are our kings. So we will eat with our king. Na nikimalizia, ni furaha kuwaona hapa, ni furaha kwetu kuja kupata mafundisho ya leo, na pia ni furaha kwa Maulana na shukrani muhimu kwa Maulana kutujalia uhai. Langu jina Chibona Moses. Mimi ndiye katibu mratibu wa kikundi hiki. Aya. Okay. Lastly, let me come back now. Let me come back to lastly. This is sijui kama mnaona. Sijui kama mnaniona. Mnaniona kweli? Aya. Now, last Saturday but one, I was privileged to attend a meeting at Chiromo campus, and that was courtesy of KCS. It was celebrating anniversary for 30 years. But what I learned from there is students need to join KCS. Kama tu fenye tuliambiwa na mkubwa kutoka Pan African Royal Society. Sasa sisi pia tujiunge na Kenya Chemical Societies. And the registration for the students is subsidized, I guess. Yeah. Now, itakuwa rahisi kujiunga na kile kikundi, tupate mafundisho muhimu tena saidi na saidi ya hayo. Let us assemble and pray. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Almighty Father, and the wonderful afternoon that we come unto you. Father, we say thank you for whatever training that we have had. Father, as we continue planning for the society, continue protecting us, bless us, and spotlight our ways so that we can walk in your spotlight. You said, Father, that you will be with you, everyone, and where 1 or 2, 3 people are gathered, we believe that you are there. We are believing that you have been with us since we began, and now we are coming to an end. Father, continue protecting our facilitators as they travel from this point to different destinations. Continue protecting the students as they pursue their education, give them success and power. For whatever I have spoken and whatever I have maybe failed to do, may you intercede. It is in Jesus Christ do pray and believe. Asanteni. Asanteni.
Thank you.
Sawa. Na mwisho kabisa naweza yari. Sawa. Okay. Kabla nisahau photo session. Kuna na picha hapo. Kama una ile haja ya picha kama mimi leo I want to take a picture with the executive na kubwa. So executive please, we can have the photo session with our facilitators.
Okay.